Right, we're back. Back again. Aries and Gems.
Yeah, welcome to another episode of Aries and Gems. I'm Aries,
And I'm Gems.
and this week we're coming with another hot topic
Yeah.
about.
Relationships and different relationship stages. We've been watching Married at First Sight UK. I'm pretty much caught up. I think you're lagging behind.
Yeah, so we wanted to do an episode about the different stages of relationships, and we're coming at it from like we have two different perspectives because I was a believer of stages. Gems wasn't really much of a believer in stages in relationships.
Yeah, because
And
I
what is your
don't.
reason for it?
So my reasons is that stages implies that you move from one step to another, whereas I think sometimes different stages can coexist at the same time. So you can be in a honeymoon phase as well as like a kind of harmony because you can have those sparks of intimacy and closeness and romance just because you're, knee deep into a relationship and years down the line doesn't mean you have to lose that spark. I think I just want to get out of that mentality that, okay, once that stage is done, okay, that door is closed and you're moving on.
Yeah, and I'm more of an angle of like relationships are like there are stages in relationships and there are certain signs that make you know which kind of stage that you are in. So I came up with some names for the stages because I think the way relationships are commercially portrayed, there's only like a couple of stages that have really made the mainstream. Like
Yeah.
the honeymoon period, that's a very mainstream stage of a relationship. And the breakup, that's a very mainstream stage of the breakup
Yeah.
and arguments. So we broke it down into six stages of a relationship, and that's what we're gonna dive into in this episode. They're all H's,
Yeah.
the synchronicity part of the podcast. So yeah, break down the six stages.
Yeah. So we've got honeymoon, of course, to start off with. And then you came up with one called holiday. And then the third that we'll go through on this episode is what is it? Hatred.
Yeah,
But I'm a bit more optimistic and I've rebranded it as realizing they're human, which is a bit longer and not as succinct, but yeah.
yeah. And then the other stages, the other three were
The other three were Hope, Harmony, and Horizon.
yeah. So yeah, this week we'll start off with the kind of I don't know. They're not. I wouldn't say they're negative. Actually, I think they're all positive
Yeah,
stages. I think if you're having a positive relationship,
that's the thing.
every
Yeah.
stage of the relationship is positive,
Mm.
and because a honeymoon period can still be toxic if you're two toxic people.
Yeah.
So
And even the hatred, like you can bounce back from that.
yeah, and hatred
So,
doesn't actually have to mean like hatred for a person. It might just be hatred for the things that a person that you love does, but it's
mm,
how accepting of it are you like you might hate that they do like they swear a lot, but you love
yeah.
them so much that it's like okay, I'm willing to accept that. Or well, on the other hand, there might be things that you hate about a person that you're just not willing to accept. So
Yeah.
hatred isn't always like the hate of a person. It can just be hate of things within the relationship.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think so what ties all these H's together is another H for me, which is honesty. And it's just about like my ultimate goal when I'm with someone is how honest I could be. I don't want to have to hold anything back. It doesn't mean that I'll tell you everything and share with you things that I would share with my girls or certain things, but I can. And having that possibility is important. So, as we go through the stages, I'll discuss like how honesty plays a part in each one.
Yeah. Interesting to
Yeah,
hear.
yeah. I've
Yeah, the
got
different
different.
perspectives.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you could get the Aries perspective, the freedom of thought, the rigid kind of thinking, the rigid stance, and the gems more
yeah.
free flowing, and yeah, and we'll see how.
How we get on. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, honeymoon stage. What's
yeah.
been your experience? What comes to mind?
With honeymoon, yeah,
Yeah.
honeymoon is like it. It can be the best and the worst stage
Mm.
because it's like that's like where you get the rush, you get the exhilarating feelings, you get all the new feelings. Everything's new, everything's fantasy feeling.
Yeah, but
So
surface level.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it can feel great. And if you're a love hard type person, then you fall straight away. It's just an exhilarating rush. Like it's like a high. It's like you're just on a high, and everything you love everything, even the things that you didn't know you love. You love about a person, and yeah, you're just in it for the ride. Just everything's good. There's regular sex. There's no problems. You make time for each other. You make time for even when you haven't got time. You try and force it in. Like you put the relationship and the honeymoon period first. Like
Yeah.
you'll suffer for work. Like you would go to work without getting sleep. Like you wouldn't think of things like that.
Yeah. That's a
Like
strong example as well.
yeah, like you put all those things to the back of your mind. Like your pillow talk till 6 a.m. You know, and you've got to get up at 7, and then yeah, that's like honeymoon. That's
Yeah.
honeymoon vibes.
Because it's like you're kind of celebrating the fruits of your labor in terms of like the chase of the relationship and the chase of pursuing that person, right? So this is now that you're with them, so you can enjoy the early days of being with. Because imagine if you're just like trying to pursue someone, you're trying to get their number, trying to go on dates, but now you're actually in a relationship, so
Yeah.
you actually get to
Yeah,
enjoy them.
yeah, it's kind of relief.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
relief and a rush, and the kind of chase is over and you can just relax. And but the reason why I interjected and said it's very surface level is because I actually think this one isn't 50-50, like the best and the worst stage. I think it's more leaning towards like negative on my part, just because in terms of how honest you can be with somebody, you're really just kind of showing your best side.
yeah,
You're on your best behavior.
yeah,
You're not really being truly. You're not really showing all your battle scars. You're just showing the part that you want them to be impressed with.
yeah,
Yeah, that's why I think this stage actually, the quicker it goes, the better for me. I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like it's not. I don't like the mistake a lot of people make. I would say is that people judge their relationship by the honeymoon period, and like that's something that people need to kind of stop doing. And I
Yeah.
think like with relationship therapy, that would be a good thing to do. Is like just get the honeymoon period out the way, and don't make that the expectation of your relationship. Like just enjoy it while it lasts, because the honeymoon period, it doesn't last forever. Like you're
Yeah.
gonna get used to each other at some point, and you're gonna start prioritizing other things in your life that you put to the side to like get this relationship going.
Yeah. One
So
thing that I think could work out though, in terms of like taking the essence of the honeymoon period, is that rush. So you
yeah,
can have that at different stages later on,
yeah,
where you have, you just do romantic things, just spontaneous. You're just bringing light and joy to your partner's, world and your world together. Um, but that doesn't have to be in isolation to the honeymoon stage, is what I'm saying.
yeah,
Yeah. And I think on the other side, the honeymoon stage can also have like this murky water where, yeah, you can rush into over promising things and love bombing and kind of getting in too deep, getting tattoos. We've all heard these stories of people, young love. The
yeah.
honeymoon stage can be so kind of,
You're very vulnerable
yeah,
in that stage. Like you can make a lot of mistakes, and like it's important to be level-headed in the honeymoon stage and not make any drastic decisions. But then, like, there's some success stories. Like some people like
yeah, there are.
say "I love you" after 2 days, and then 20 years later they're
Yeah,
still
and they
saying
have
it.
that story.
Yeah, so
Um,
like
I,
I wouldn't discourage it going if it's your personality, like because there's people that love hard. Like you just got to meet your match, because there's people that only love hard in the honeymoon period, and then once they're comfortable, they drop the love hard. They're like,
yeah,
okay, yeah,
yeah, I don't want to do baby names with
yeah,
you, and
yeah. They just revert to form.
yeah.
So, but if you love hard, then you can probably love hard through all stages.
Yeah, I think it's in keeping with your character. Like, if you're not someone that kind of gets caught up easily, but you're doing that for a relationship,
Yeah,
maybe there's some concern there. But yeah, like you said, if they have someone that's matching the energy, then yeah,
yeah. And
why
why
not?
why do you think that the honeymoon stage has become the most like commercial stage that people like can discuss and reference and know?
Because if you think about it, like if I've had X amount of partners, I'm most likely to experience the honeymoon stage with all of them. They all
Yeah.
didn't make it to what you're calling horizon, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's the stage that you'll most likely experience the most
Yeah, that's true actually. Like even someone that has no experience of a relationship,
of
they
a,
might even
like a
just be
long term.
dating. They might even
Yeah,
just be dating and they experience the honeymoon period dating for a month.
yeah.
Yeah.
And also it's the most commercial. It's the one that also, we live in a capitalist world. It makes the
Yeah.
most money, or the cars, or the flowers,
Yeah.
or the, chocolates.
Yeah. And also I think some people are addicted to the honeymoon um, period, which stops them from experiencing the other ones. Because once the honeymoon period stops, they're like, okay, relationship done.
Yeah, or they think, oh, this person's boring now. They're
Yeah,
not surprising me. I'm not meeting any people for the first time, not meeting like their mom or their friends or their, like it's just boring now. We just stay
yeah,
in.
yeah. It's routine.
Yeah.
It's routine, and you're part of the family now.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing exciting.
So we said we'll touch on Married at First Sight and the honeymoon stage. One example I wanted to give was so Gemma, she's the tattooed one with the red hair, the
Yeah,
hairdresser. She said it kind of struck me, like she said in the show, for a whole month before coming onto the show, she wrote love letters to her soon to be husband,
yeah,
which I just thought was just setting herself up for what she thought would be a honeymoon phase,
yeah,
and a very kind of deep and intimate one, but it turned out not the case. Like it turned out to not be the case. But I think when you set yourself up like that, like we spoke about in terms of loving so hard and having such high expectations, you know, it sets you up for a fall, I think.
yeah,
Because I've been like Gemma, where I've looked at all our zodiac signs, what our names, like do Jumanji with the letters of our names and make our baby name, and I've done all that, like screen grabbing pictures of them, like all that crazy stuff,
yeah,
and it just sets you up.
yeah.
Yeah, you've not done any of that. You've just gone quiet.
Oh no, I'm not saying I haven't done any of that. Like, like you have your fantasies, and the fantasies like at the start when you get the number, and then you start your mind just runs away with you.
Yeah,
But then, yeah, you kind of whip yourself back into shape and
yeah.
get back to reality.
Do you
Uh,
think how you've met determines the honeymoon stage? Like if you've met like at work or on an app, or if you've been introduced, do you think it matters, or do you
no, I
yeah,
think it's more a personality thing. I think it's more like just the excitement of a new thing. Because even in work, you're gonna eventually hate your job, but you remember at the beginning
not
when you loved
always,
it.
speak for
No,
yourself.
like if it's a job that you actually wanted, if it's like let's say you've landed your dream job,
Yeah.
or like you thought it was your dream job, like it all starts off like you love it, and then it will get to a point where you don't love it as much as you did at the beginning because it's now a job. So like the honeymoon period of a relationship, you're not really working for anything. You're just going for the ride.
Yeah.
But then now when you have to put the real work in is when it becomes a struggle. And that's why and then you've got to keep working. Like you've got to know you're in a new stage now. You've got to work harder. So like when you get a job, like you think it's your dream job, you realize how hard you've got to work. Like it can make you hate it, or you just got to work harder. Like it just becomes like more of a. It's just not about the fantasy anymore. It's like the reality. Like this is a job, and I have to
Yeah.
work on it. Even though I love it,
Yeah.
it's a job, and you have to put in the work. You're gonna be tired.
It's not gonna
You're
come
gonna be
easily.
frustrated. Yeah, it's like you're gonna get frustrated. So it's the same with a relationship. Like at the start, you're like, okay, this is my dream person. We've met. Like everything's fantastic. Like I'm head over heels in love, but now I've actually got to work to maintain this head over heels feeling and this
Yeah.
honeymoon
And you don't have the same
feeling.
endorphins. Like if you're seeing them a couple times a month, it's not the same as when you're going to come home to the same person every day.
Yeah,
You don't have that rush of excitement anymore. And because the reason why I asked about how you met is because so in Married at First Sight UK, like Shanita and Jordan, they seem like the strongest couple right now. But is that honeymoon stage just because of that process? Had
yeah,
they just met on a dating app, I
mm,
don't know if they would have had that that kind of picturesque kind of relationship in the beginning, because they've started off really well out of all the couples, but I don't know if that's just because of the process and if it's the same. I think it does
No, I think it
depend.
depends on your intentions and what your like. If your intentions both align, I think you'll have a good honeymoon period.
Yeah.
No matter where you meet, like because you're in your head, if you're like the next person I meet, I'm taking seriously.
Mm.
Like I'm putting everything into them, and the other person's on the same wavelength. As soon as you meet and you both find out, yeah, we're serious about this. Let's go. Like
Yeah.
everything's a yes. Everything you suggest is a yes. Everything they suggest is a yes. Like you just there's no hiccups, no hurdles,
Yeah.
and it can just seem like, oh, this is just going so smoothly.
Yeah.
So, but if you meet and one person's intention is to be serious and the other person's isn't, that's when you butt heads. That's when the clashes start happening. That's when you're finding it hard to arrange to meet up with each other and things are not going like you already start having conflict because you're like, yeah, I don't like eating out. And then you never eat out because one of you don't. But like when you both want something long term, the other one usually is like, okay, I don't like eating out, but I like spending time with you.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna eat out with you.
That's where you have to make sure that you like who you're becoming with
Yeah,
that person, and that
yeah,
moves us into the next stage. But I think during that honeymoon phase, if you're being exposed to things that are outside your comfort zone, like you just have to recognize, okay, I don't like this person I'm becoming, where I have to nag you, or I have to always eat out and spend money and all that stuff. Um, so I think that's important as well.
yeah,
Just seeing having that self check in.
yeah, yeah. So that leads into the second stage of the stages of relationships, which is holiday. So what does a holiday stage mean to you?
So, holiday stage means to me when you start to experience different adventures together. So, that could be anything from, say, you met at uni and it's the first time you're going to the town where they grew up. You're spending some time, in the town that they're from. Or it could mean literally going on holiday. It can also mean different adventures, seeing
Yeah,
them in different situations. Maybe someone in their family's taken ill and they have to like go back and forth, to their house, doing chores and helping them out. You're seeing them in a different light. It's kind of like a discovery
yeah,
phase for me.
yeah. The holiday stage for me is more not yeah, it's kind of similar, it's kind of the same. It's where you're doing things together that you wouldn't usually do in everyday life. So like everyday life would be living together, paying bills and things like that.
Yeah.
But the holiday stage, you don't go into that because you're still kind of separate. Unless the honeymoon period has just gone crazy and you've just said let's move in from day one. But
Yeah.
but in general, like the holiday period, you start doing things like you might arrange a trip, like you might arrange a weekend away.
So with the holiday phase, you're going outside of your normal day to day
Oh
routine.
yeah,
So an example I gave where like if someone's looking after a relative, that's not gonna
yeah,
last forever.
yeah,
But you're seeing them in a new light, or you're literally
yeah,
going on a trip.
yeah. Like or even just doing things that they like doing, like that you don't like doing or you've never been exposed to, can be like the holiday phase. Because and then you're just going along with it to like find out the kind of things that they like, even if it's not what you're interested in.
Yeah, and you hear
Yeah,
about that like later down the line in relationships. Someone will be like, "Yeah, when we
mm.
first started dating, we used to go to dance classes,
Yeah,
but my two
yeah.
left feet."
Well, yeah, he was into gym, so I started going gym with him. But yeah, I couldn't maintain because it wasn't me. But you still go because it's like the holiday. It's the holiday
Yeah,
period.
yeah, definitely. I think as long as you can be exposed to new things together and also new people, is
Mm.
holiday phase for me, because it's
Yeah,
all about that discovery,
yeah,
meeting
yeah,
friends,
yeah,
meeting family. I
yeah,
think that's important.
yeah. I think that's the key word, discovery. Like in the holiday period, it's all about just discovering more to that person's life because it's not just them. Like
Yeah,
they have
they have a whole,
hobbies, they
yeah.
have interests. Their family might be from another country. You might have to be, oh, okay, I'm open minded to go and visit in that country because that's where maybe you go every summer to visit your parents and things like that. So yeah,
Yeah. And I think as well, like with getting out of your comfort zone, we can talk about just actually going on a holiday.
Yeah.
Because when I was thinking about this earlier, I was like, that's where you see what your partner, like, are they the person that, when the plane lands, they're rushing to be the
Oh
first
yeah.
ones to get off the plane? Are they the person who loses their shit if there's any
Yeah.
delay?
Can you even? Are they organized? Can you
Yeah,
even arrange to go on a holiday with them? Because they might not even be organized. Like you
yeah.
might have to be the person that's organized, and then you might not even want that role. You might just both be as
Yeah,
disorganized
or are
as
they
each other.
checking work emails on holiday? Like, what are they like
Yeah.
outside their comfort zone, outside in a new environment? I think that's important as well. And in terms of like this stage and my kind of hypothesis about honesty, I think this is where because you're seeing new sides to them, you can't, you can be a little bit more open with, what you're sharing and how much you're sharing with them and how honest you're being. But I think with new variables happening all the time, like new changes, you kind of have to just step out on faith a little bit and just hope that they are true to who they're saying that they are.
Yeah.
So one example of that is like if somebody is like, you're seeing them on holiday, you see a bit of a bad temper, but then you're kind of just wondering, how, like, is that just because of the delay of, the flight, or are they usually like that? Like you have to
Yeah.
really still be a little guarded because you're still discovering.
Yeah.
Do you think adventure could mean like sexually adventurous or anything like that? Where you push boundaries a little bit more after the honeymoon?
Yeah, because you've got to know what a person's into. But don't you find that out in the honeymoon period? That's the best time to find out when people are willing to try everything.
I think it overlaps into holiday as well when you're being
Yeah,
more
because it is. Yeah,
adventurous
because it is
and
discovery.
yeah.
Yeah, it is discovery. But yeah, in the discovery period, that's when it can kind of. That's when the stage kind of develops into the hatred stage because you're gonna start learning the things that you don't like about a person because you've opened up the world a bit more into your relationship. So you're seeing them more like their character traits, especially if you've gone on holiday, like a real holiday. And if you've seen them around their family, if you're going out to places and you see how they interact with other people, like you might not like how they talk to other people. Like they might be disrespectful to waiters, disrespectful to shopping attendants. They might leave their rubbish on the table at McDonald's. Like those things might give you the ick. Like it's no, yeah, they might just litter.
Yeah, the honesty might just be too much. They're being themselves,
Yeah,
but for you, it's not the match that you had built up or the impression they'd given in
yeah,
or maybe you had failed to see it,
yeah,
you
and
know?
that's where the icks start piling up, and then it might just be one ick too many. The relation, and then yeah, because the hatred stage is one of the hardest stages I would say
Yeah, and I think it
to
should be.
to to get through
Yeah, that's the
because
test.
yeah, because that's usually like the things that you hate about the person is usually why you leave and why you don't want to continue with the relationship, and a lot of people like lower their threshold for when it comes to another person. They're not really willing to look past certain things once the honeymoon period's over.
Yeah.
They're just like, okay, I don't like this, so I'm out. Like the honeymoon period's over.
It is that adjustment, and it's hard to know when is too much to
Yeah,
adjust to someone else. And that goes back to what I said before about recognizing who you are and who you're becoming.
yeah,
If you're someone that's now not replying to your friends, not showing up to work on time, not doing your sort of pampered things like maybe get your nails done, keeping your hair nice, like the things that you would normally do, that if that your way, you do that, it's it can become a little bit more difficult to maintain that going forward. So you just have to kind of check in with yourself.
or even the other way around. Like if you were doing that to maintain the relationship, and then you stopped, and then your partner kind of starts having resentment towards, okay, I liked this person. This person had done their nails and done their hair and took care of their appearance. That's the person I liked at the beginning, and now you're comfortable. You don't do it. Like the hatred stage makes you like a person. You get a more well-rounded like or a love for your partner because you see in the things that you don't like, and your love is still strong, which is a good thing, I would say. So it's an important stage in terms of, it's make or break, really. It's a
Yeah.
make or break stage, because hatred, the things that you hate, if you can tolerate them, your relationship's gonna go far.
Yeah, like your partner's only human, and the sooner you realize that, the better, for both
Yeah,
of you. Because seeing the little things that annoy you or irritate you about that person kind of allows you to let that guard of perfection down
yeah,
and just be yourself, because you're able to then, like, you know, you're able to just make mistakes and just not have to be held to a kind of standard. Like, I
yeah.
think
And
it's
it's an
better.
important point that you made about your partner being human. Like, I think a lot of people make the mistake that their partner is a fantasy. So your partner's a fantasy in your head first, and then
Yeah.
you found the human to try and play that fantasy role that's in your head. And whereas it's supposed to be the other way around, your partner is a human, and you've got to build like a fantasy relationship that you have in your head. You've got to manifest it into a reality, but you've got to remember that that's the relationship. It's not to do with the people.
Yeah. So something I always used to do is, like, when I first met someone, we were talking honeymoon stage, I used to like screen grab what they'd said. And then later on in stages like this, where you're kind of realizing they're more human, getting to see things that you are annoyed by, I used to just be like, oh, but that text, you were always saying that you weren't like this, or you said this about me. And I would go back to it because I'm just, weird like that. But I would always go back to those messages and, well, not really weird, that's just me. And that's holding somebody to their previous words, or to that previous stage, which we've already kind of dissected, is a bit of a fantasy, is a bit of a showmanship, like an interview.
Yeah, yeah. Send in your representative, not your real
Exactly.
person.
So I think in this stage as well, it's important to recognize and start to put in place boundaries. Because I
Yeah,
think one of the other things that came up with Married at First Sight UK is like this character, well, not even character, Duca, when they had to do that task to say, like, what are the things that annoy you? What are the things you don't like? Like, you need to be able to be honest with your partner and say, this makes me uncomfortable. I don't like when you do this. Because no relationship can thrive if one person is being silent. Like, oh, I don't complain. I never cause problems. I never bring up issues. It's like, so you're saying I'm perfect 100% of the time? That's not the
yeah,
case. Like, sometimes you don't listen. Sometimes you don't do this. Sometimes you don't call your mom back, and it's like just disrespectful. Like, there are things that you're going to notice about your partner. And I think if you just stay silent, that's not helping anything. So I
yeah,
think that this stage is important to express these things.
yeah,
Yeah, you've got to be able to say what's on your mind. You have to be able to be honest. And in this stage more than ever, because to your point, it's make or break. You can't be afraid if it ends up being a break,
yeah,
because that might be what leads you on to have the best relationship of your life
yeah.
afterwards.
And also, you might not waste as much time
Yeah.
in a relationship just trying to save face. Like, you might end up in 10 years wasted with someone when you knew at year one that it wasn't going to work because of the things that you didn't like about a person, but you just hang about hoping for the change, like hoping for the fantasy partner to manifest into a reality, and it doesn't happen. And then you've just wasted 10 years of your life with someone.
So in this stage, how important do you think it is to discuss with friends the misalignments that you're noticing, and how much you should take, how much adjustments you should make?
Yeah, it's always important to get another perspective. Like, I wouldn't say keep it to yourself if you're having relationship issues, but I would say you've got to speak to someone that's got a similar intention in terms of relationship, because talking to someone that is very disposable with relationships is not really the advice. You're not really going to want the advice from that type of person, because they're just going to say, they're more disposable, they're going to be more like cutthroat and harsh, like, yeah, don't put up with that. Like, if that was me, I wouldn't stand for that. Like, I would be out of there. Like, I'm an independent, I'm a boss bitch, I'm a boss whatever. Like, I'm independent. Like, you don't need to put up with that. But Like if you ask, you'll get different advice from someone that does take relationships seriously and that can give advice and be like, yeah, you might need to speak to a therapist. Like you might need to have someone sit down that's just neutral and give you advice about your relationship and how to sustain your relationship. Like because a relationship's important and you've got to be able to. It's not going to be the first hurdle you come across. You can't fall at the first hurdle.
Yeah, I do think it's also an amber flag if you have absolutely no issues at all and you never argue, you never disagree, and you've reached this stage of hatred slash realizing they're human, realizing their faults and imperfections, and you have no complaints at all.
I don't know. That sounds perfect. That sounds like the dream. Not saying that it's like it can not happen. I mean, it can and can't happen, but like that would be the ideal. But I think that's probably like a 1%, because that's like extreme compatibility to be able to find someone that harmonious. Because if you're a person like you are, think about it, you're in a relationship with yourself. How much times do you argue with yourself? That's how you would have to look at it.
Yeah, like even if so, like not full on arguments, but I'd be like, oh, I hate the way I don't put my key on the hook, and then I bloody forget it every time. Like, why do I do that?
Yeah.
You know, if I can't even have a little gripe about, I'm not saying this
Yeah, so
stage has
that's
to be short. It could be
no, but I'm
years,
saying
but you're
that's
just
how
yeah,
that's how you weigh up like the level of like is there argument, because like it's impossible to not have a disagreement.
yeah. That's why I think if someone isn't
Yeah,
bringing anything to the table,
yeah, I don't even think that's
and you
possible to even happen. But
exactly, which
yeah,
is why I think there's problems in that, and
yeah,
it's kind of fake.
yeah,
If you're not bringing anything up, or if you're bringing up, like in Duca's example, you're bringing up superficial things like, you don't make me toast. Um, or what did he say? Like you don't make me coffee in the morning. Some
no,
really frivolous things. Like these aren't real problems,
yeah,
and
no,
yeah,
yeah. He was bringing up those problems when he was having real problems.
exactly.
Yeah, so that's like, yeah, we've got to clarify that like he was having serious issues in his relationship, but he didn't want to bring that up. He wanted to bring up things that weren't important. So I think that that's like an important thing. Like you can't bottle up your serious issues that you're having with a person. We're in the hatred stage of the relationship to try and save the relationship, because you
Yeah,
might know you're in the hatred stage of the relationship, but you don't want to address it
yeah,
because you're scared. Because we know the hatred stage can lead to the end,
yeah.
and you might not want to be. You might not ready be ready to face being alone.
Yeah, so you have to be
Yeah,
able to be honest enough to
yeah.
say the things
So
that are
yeah,
uncomfortable truths.
yeah. Because I think that's what that was with Duca. He was like, I don't want to go home. I've come into this process, so I'm not gonna bring up the things that I don't like. I'm just gonna try and stay positive. Bring up minor things that's wrong, not bring up the things that I really don't like, which is I don't. She doesn't like me, and I don't get no affection. Like the things that's really bothering him. Let me just keep it lighthearted and hope she comes round. But
Yeah.
it's just not gonna work like that.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to be honest with each other.
Yeah, and we've had like I've had friends who like, people who would say we're thinking about marriage, we're having that talk, but anytime you do have that talk, it's uncomfortable, it's cringe, it's like you're pulling teeth. So in the kind of behind closed doors, it's not an easy conversation, but yet you're telling people, oh yeah, we're talking about marriage, we've reached that stage, and things are progressing. So it's just like this, you're presenting a false narrative of your relationship. And
Yeah,
that's why sometimes when people do break up from the outside, you're just perplexed. You can't
yeah,
believe it because
yeah.
they've,
It's come out of nowhere.
yeah, because they're hiding the disharmony that's happening in the background,
Yeah,
and the hatred and the misalignment, and presenting where they think they should be, which is, oh, I'm in stage 3, but their stage 3 doesn't look as pretty as how they want it to be.
which leads on to the next stage, which is harmony and the harmonious part of the relationship, where you've like to me that means you've laid all your cards on the table. This is what I don't like. This is what I do like, because we've been through the good now, we've been through the bad, and how do we resolve our issues? Like what can I do that you hate that can that can make you tolerate it? Like, do I have to stop? Like, because is it something that you can stop doing to make a relationship better? And if it's not something that you can stop doing, how do you how do you minimize it? How do you minimize a person feeling a way about a character trait of yours or something
Yeah, and sometimes
that you
it's
have?
just the other person accepting more, or
Yeah,
maybe like you're both accepting more from each other
yeah,
to reach that harmony.
yeah. Or you even you work on try. Like, from it's been addressed, you can try. Like, it might not even work, but at least you've got enough respect for the relationship to try something different, because people can be stuck in their ways, but also in life you can always develop and become a better person. Like, you don't have to stay the same person, and someone can be coming into your life to make you a better person. And then that's a sign, is that they've brought up, look, this is how your behavior affects me. Is there a way that it can change? Like, because sometimes you don't know, like, things that you're doing, like not hanging up your clothes bothers another person, or just coming in and throwing your clothes on the floor. You might have been used to that all your life and no one's
Mm.
challenged you on it.
Yeah.
And your girlfriend's challenging, or your partner is challenging you. Your partner's challenging you about that. And you might be stuck in your ways and be like, I'm not changing for anyone. You just might be stubborn. I've always been like that. I like my clothes on the floor.
But do
But
you think then you wouldn't have reached this stage for you probably wouldn't have gotten past the hatred stage?
no, but if you allow them to continue doing that, and you're
Mm.
like too scared to bring it up, or you're like, I'm gonna accept this, you there might be a chance that you can improve that person's life. Like, you know what, just be tidy. Look, I'm gonna set up the house so that when you come in, there's a hook right next to the door. So you just don't throw your clothes on the floor. Like, there's always kind of little solutions that you can do that can improve a person's life. And then once they start doing it, they'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, this is better. Like, I just hang my coat next to the door so I don't throw it on the floor. And then when I'm always stepping over my coat, like,
Yeah.
there are simple solutions to certain issues.
Yeah, which is why I think like that discovery, and why I feel like stages definitely overlap, because you're then rediscovering yourself like with their help and vice versa.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of
Yeah, it's like a
become more of a
growth.
joint thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a growth of just becoming, like, just better in each other, because you're both gonna have things that you don't like about each other, and
Yeah.
your ultimate goal is to both make each other happy, like, as much as possible. So if there are things that you can work on, like, it's good to work on. That's like why it's called harmony, because you're now trying to find solutions to be harmonious in the way that you live.
Yeah. But I think sometimes the mistake is that because we're in like the harmony stage, that means big ticket commitments. So that means marriage, moving in, having kids. But even though you're in the harmony stage, it's important to still have honesty. It doesn't matter if you're married, if you have children, if you're moving in together. Like those big ticket commitments shouldn't underpin the harmony.
Mm.
Like just because you move in together doesn't mean harmony is going to come tomorrow. And just because you're married doesn't mean that you're going to be constantly harmonious. Like it's something you have to work on
Yeah,
first, and then the big ticket commitments can
yeah.
come.
I think every stage involves work. Like, you have, like, that's why I'm big on being conscious of what stage that you're in, and understanding each stage and the purpose of each stage, and how each stage helps your relationship and moves it and keeps it progressing. So, like, in if you're in the harmony stage, you've got to understand it's all about how you work together as a team and a partnership, and how you keep things functioning, how you keep everything happy and harmonious. Like, because then work can get done. Like, a in within harmony, a marriage can get done. Within harmony, you can get married. Within harmony, you can have children. Within harmony, you can have a happy family and raise a happy family. Without the harmony, those things are going to be difficult.
Yeah, you can even start like a business or
Yeah,
do other things. Like I think often, like in the past, I definitely thought, oh well, it's tit for tat. Like because we live together, we should have harmony, or because we've done this, you know
yeah,
what I
and
mean? Like
and it
yeah,
doesn't work. Like, it's actually a conscious stage that you have to work on when you decide you're going to live together. You have to understand we have to work on building a harmonious environment within the house.
Yeah, and this is the stage where I think you're also like you just touched on it, like in terms of progression, you're agreeing that we're driving this forward. Like we've gotten through the the misalignment and the hatred stage, like we're heading towards whatever that commitment looks like. Because not everybody wants to get married,
Yeah.
and not everyone wants to have kids, like, but whatever that goal is for the both of you, it's just to get there.
Yeah.
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 So that's you're on a kind of trajectory of okay, we're going to be devoted to this. But of course, we know there's other stages, so you're not quite there yet. But I think
Yeah.
sometimes people kind of park here and
Yeah.
think, but why is it that because I'm married, I don't have this harmony? Or because, I think, like you say, we have to consciously
Yeah.
think about it.
And also like um you was like never a person to view like stages as like a linear kind of thing, like you go from one stage to another stage. A stage can pop up at any time in a relationship, because you might start a relationship harmoniously before the honeymoon. Like you might start off as friends, not even knowing that you're going to get into a relationship. So you're just harmonious and been able to be friends. And then you're like, okay, yeah, we actually live in harmony. Like let's have a honeymoon period. So the stages can come at any time.
Yeah.
Like it's not really like a linear kind of thing that you don't the order that we're doing it doesn't necessarily mean the order that a relationship goes. Like it can even be circular, it can be repetitive.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
definitely. So we can touch on hope
Yeah.
a little bit. So hope actually can come. I think hope can come at any stage because you can have after a honeymoon, you could be like, okay, I'm hopeful. After hatred, you can think, okay, I'm hopeful
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
Different kind of peaks and troughs of even horizon. You can
Yeah.
have. I think hope is like for me, hope is that feeling of I'm gonna put my relationship first and give things and being brave enough to try something different
Yeah.
and try to change something. So if you're in a cyclical pattern, and you're both not getting enough sleep, like the kids are on a weird pattern, and you just can't really see each other anymore in the relationship. Like it feels like something that's alien. It's just this other thing, and you have your life and the relationship's just this boat floating away slowly, and you're actually being hopeful that actually no, together we can anchor it and together we can actually hold on to something.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where hope comes from for me, where
Yeah.
you can feel the love and the unity kind of drifting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, the hope stage is all about now realizing all your dreams that you had for the relationship. So you've got through any kind of stage that you're in, you've got through any sort of like hatred, disagreements, things you don't like, things you do like, and now you've laid out what the relationship means to both of you, and you're hopeful that it's gonna happen and it's gonna manifest. Whatever hurdle you're faced, you can come through it. Like you've climbed a lot of hurdles. Like you're at the mountaintop now.
Yeah.
Let's say you're almost there,
Yeah.
and then you're just hopeful that if you've survived all of this, you can survive anything.
Yeah.
So you always have a positive outlook about your relationship, like no matter if it's in a bad place or a good place, because you understand like the end goal of the relationship, whatever your end goal is.
I think hope too can be like a kind of an active stage where like threats are coming into for your relationship, threats from family, accusations, or even like serious big life problems like
Yeah,
grief, job
yeah,
loss, all those
everything, even
things,
illness,
economy, recession,
everything.
illness, like all those things are coming for you, and you're being hopeful actually that
Yeah,
we'll weather the
survive.
storm.
Yeah,
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 for
yeah. So
sure.
that's definitely an important part of the relationship. Like where you don't think something can break your relationship.
Yeah,
Like
you're
you're
willing to put
all
up a
yeah,
fight.
like you're always hopeful that the outcome of any storm is gonna be weathered.
Yeah,
Like we'll be there. Like we'll be that one house standing after the hurricane.
yeah.
Like
And interestingly, the people who are in that stage are the people, if you're going through that hatred phase, you should seek advice from, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, that is
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've made the mistake of seeking advice from people who are in that cyclical pattern of going through honeymoon phases, because they usually are the most available. They're the ones that want to
The,
talk. They're the ones that are always like, oh, so how's so and so. You never really hear people who are like long in the tooth, who are just hopeful about their relationship, maybe even reached horizon. They're not really, sometimes they might be chasing you, but not the people who are in the honeymoon cycle. They love it.
yeah,
They love talking about relationships and giving their toxic advice.
yeah, yeah, that's true. That is true.
So you have to be careful.
Yeah, yeah. So that leads on to our last stage. So
Final stage.
what does horizon mean to you
Horizon,
when you reach the
horizon.
horizon?
Horizon actually means, this is going to be controversial.
Mm.
Horizon to me means where you're so secure in your relationship that you can focus on yourself.
Why is that? Why is that controversial?
Because it
I
kind
thought
of
you was gonna say I'm so comfortable we can have a swingers. We could go to a swingers party. Go to a swingers party and swap partners.
No, I just feel like when you've got the freedom, like you say, to know that, okay, you've you've been through the hope phase, any challenges that are going to come, you kind of loop back around again, you have that hope. But in horizon, it's like I can look ahead at what's right for me, and what's right for me might be being a good wife and being the best partner I can, and doing things that might feel good and fulfilling to me. But i can actually have and own my life and my decisions, and I know my partner's right there, and my partner can also own their life and their decisions and thrive, and I'm right there too. So it's like you're supporting each other independently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I understand that. Yeah, like me, I don't know. I just picture horizon as two old people on a veranda in the sunset, watching the living by the sea, and then just discussing sweet nothings about life.
Yeah, but in order to discuss sweet nothings, you have to have some independence. Because if you don't go out, say for example, a really basic example, like we both go out to work, and me and my partner are both like living our day, then you have something to come back and talk about on the veranda and sit and watch the sunset. Because otherwise, I don't know, like you need to have individual life experiences to kind of come back together, and you're kind of improving each other's lives because you're actually filling up your own cup and making sure that you're okay. Like, we talk a lot about like wellness and mental health, and like you need to be okay in yourself and loving of yourself to really appreciate somebody and what they bring to your life, because you won't let anyone tear you down if you're already believing in yourself and loving yourself, I think.
Well, yeah, I just think the horizon is like you know now that this is it. You know what you're in. You know the relationship is like a forever thing. Like you know you're gonna ride it out to the end, kind of thing through thick or thin. Like if you're married, you know you're gonna live out your vows. Like you're just like there's no second thoughts about anything.
Yeah, but there's
Like you're
so many
just
people that reach that point and then they say, "Oh, I lost myself. I didn't know who I was becoming." Um, and they have a glow up after their divorce. Because
no,
there's
but
something with them that's
but
missing, I think.
yeah, but even if you get to the horizon, it doesn't mean like things can go circular. You can go back to
Yeah.
hatred again. Like you think you're in the horizon, and then the hatred phase just comes back again,
Yeah.
and then you're
Or
now
your
on the
eldest
yeah
comes back
yeah
to
now
live
you
with you.
and then now you're just on the veranda miserable and just cussing each other, and then you was just in the horizon like whispering sweet nothings and drinking fine wine, but now you're on the veranda now just cussing each other. Like, oh, I'm stuck with you. Like I can't even walk properly. I can't even date now because I got one leg, and then
Oh my god.
it
This
can,
horizon took a turn.
yeah, it can turn, like, yeah, because like stages are not linear, like as we said before, like just because you got to the like every stage needs work. So if you're
Yeah.
at the horizon stage, you still need to work on it, like until
Yeah. And that's why I think
the
like
end.
making sure you're still like committed to your own growth.
Yeah.
Because it's the worst when you're with someone and you're on that horizon and they're just like, okay, that's it now. I can make absolutely no effort now. They'll take me faults and all. I can give zero fucks. Like, and even with themselves, like I can just completely not take care of myself. And I don't think that's good. Like putting that on another person to have to be your caretaker.
Yeah.
I think also with Horizon, I think positivity about the future is really important in this stage. Like if you're with someone that kind of speaks confidence and positivity into both your lives, I think perspective is really important as well in this stage. Like, being happy and hopeful in
Yeah.
Horizon.
Yeah. I think that's what Horizon's all about. I think the feeling would sum up being happy and content and happy with what your relationship has produced. Because
Yeah.
you might look and be like, look at these beautiful children that we've made. They've all grown up to be something successful. Or look at this business that we built from scratch at the beginning of our relationship. Look how massive it is. Look how much people we can employ. Like, look how much people we can help. Look how much things we can donate to charity. Like,
Yeah.
just positive, just the positive things that your relationship has given to the world, and that's what I see Horizon as. Because like even if you look at like Horizon in terms of like what it is like a picturesque like sun,
Yeah.
and like it's a very beautiful thing to look at.
Yeah.
So it's like looking at the beautiful things that your relationship has given to the world, and that's how I would sum up the Horizon
Yeah.
stage.
But it's difficult to get there because a lot of the examples personally that I've seen when people have reached that Horizon stage, you know, they can't stand each other. They're like, that phrase, like,
Yeah.
old married couple, um, butting heads, just
Yeah.
showing love through
Yeah.
arguments,
Yeah, that's why I
showing
say
love
it's a
through
that's
bickering.
yeah that's
It's
why I say the
I
state.
think it's negative.
Yeah, that's why I say but that would be a hatred. That would be like the Horizon stage manifesting itself back into the hatred stage. If you're still bickering at a point, because you can get to the Horizon, but you just fought through the hatred, like or the hatred has always lingered
Yeah,
within the relationship, but you've managed to do all the other stages with the hatred involved. It's just like
exactly.
doing all the other stages with hope involved. And
Yeah, it's
yeah,
like with a job, if you kind of skip through that part of the training, and
yeah,
every time you have to do that particular thing, you just kind of rush it and you
yeah,
just wing it. And then when you have to then train someone else, you're just like, oh, it's not my
yeah.
finest moment.
So yeah, in summary, the six stages that we came up with, what were they?
Honeymoon, holiday, um,
Hatred, hope,
yeah, harmony,
horizon, and the importance of all those stages is your own happiness.
yeah, and
Yeah,
being honest and how
yeah, and
honest and
honest.
open you
Yeah,
can be.
all the H's. Like I think the H, that's an important word for love.
Yeah,
Like can keep everything going. I like that little synchronicity pattern of the H's that
yeah,
we came up with. Yeah, Aries and Gems Synchronicity podcast.
yeah. Aries and Gems.
Yeah, another episode.
Yeah,
Yeah, join us again.
signing off.